I didn't it? So my question for you today is, are you a Jedi? Are you advancing the responsible use of AI in your universe at your organizations? So imagine you're just kind of sitting in one of the meetings with your business partners, right? Let's say this is the sales team. And then they say in the meeting, our department's going to start using AI to gain a competitive advantage out in the marketplace. We want to boost our sales. And you're going, okay, you're nodding your head. It's like, okay, that sounds like a good business thing, but I'm a defender. I'm here to protect the organization, right? I'm just like protect and defend. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to secure this AI that you want to bring in the organization and make sure I'm protecting and securing our existing infrastructure against any of those existing threats out there. But you can't really think that way because our world is constantly evolving in a technological landscape, and we in cybersecurity must evolve with it, right? So it's no longer our role to only be thinking about defense and IT security. We have to help manage that risk for the business, and we have to help make them resilient. And so how do we do that? We got to go back to what Landy said, and we have to change our mindsets. So it's a mindset shift, right? You have to think of yourself as an advising partner to your business people in your organization. You have to think about, I need to enable the business to meet its objectives and to avoid those risks, reduce those risks, make sure that in that process, we consider our impact to society, to the common good, and the public trust. So we have to shift our thinking. Now, when I'm talking about some of the potential harms for AI, we can look at individual harms, group harms, society, harms to companies, organizations, or other institutions, and even the environment. What does that encompass? Maybe it looks like a hiring system for talent management that discriminates against people of a certain demographic. Could be discriminating against women that prefer men as applicants and candidates. Or maybe you're looking at a surveillance system and it can discriminate against certain ethnic groups of people. Or maybe like in this picture, one of my colleagues talked about the deep fakes, right? You got the deep fake Pope rocking that puffer jacket, but that's not him, that's a deep fake. And then you have the environmental impact with the excessive energy costs and the water consumption that consumes freshwater resources from humans instead of allocating those to the human beings, is giving it to the AI. So a lot of things that you have to think about. And then also you might have rogue developers in your staff who may be considering uploading their code to ChatGPT. Remember that, anybody? To optimize their code, but you've just exposed your IP. Yay. So what do we need to do? We need to think about responsible principles of artificial intelligence. What does that encompass? We need to be Jedis. We need to think justly, equitably, think about diversity in our data sets, and make sure our data sets are inclusive. We need to make sure that they're fair and treat those outcomes fairly in the data sets while it's processing those models. We need to ensure its safety and security, make sure it's privacy enabled, make sure that the models are accountable and transparent so we know how it's working. It's valid and reliable, so validation is key here. Explainable and interpretable, because we have to explain what the AI just did. We can't just say it's a black box, we don't know. You have to be able to explain its logic and decision-making capabilities. But make sure it's also legal and compliant, because you want to follow the law and regulations that exist and apply to what you're working on and what you're doing. But most importantly, we have to make sure that it's human-centric and it has human oversight. And they talked about the human in the loop earlier. So how should you go about doing this? As cybersecurity, you are well positioned in the organization to make sure that you lead and encourage the responsible use of AI in your organizations. And you can do that by modeling the way, using those vetted AI tools and capabilities for your own security objectives, right? So you want to make sure you use those tools for security testing, malware reduction, endpoint protection, threat detection and prevention, and all that and more. And there's a QR code for some open source tools there on GitHub. But you have to make sure that you model the way. So change your mindset and think about you're a leader in this space. And don't be afraid, like they talked about, of the technology earlier today's session. Here's just an example of a couple of tools from the National Institute of Science and Technology. So we want to look at the AI risk management framework from NIST. You can use that as a source. You can also use the NIST Secure Software Development Practices for Generative AI as a source as well. So there are 2 QR codes for you. And it's a nice surprise that our conference organizers gave us today the critical guidelines from SANS Institute for critical AI. So please use that in your toolkit as well. Some AI governance tips. Make sure you inventory all of your AI systems and components, and that includes those existing systems that you may not even think has AI in it, like some of your HR management systems, your ERP systems, your accounting systems, and things like that. I'm sure they have AI components in them, so make sure you analyze those and log those as your inventory. And then go out and identify and manage the risk associated with those systems. So you want to make sure you do that, but also include the risk around your people. Establish policies, procedures, roles and responsibilities for governing AI in your organization. Establish a cross-functional committee that will be helpful, and make sure you test according to those responsible AI practices that we just talked about. Continuously evaluate and improve the AI's performance. If you're doing any development work on that, document any decisions all throughout that process and development, and make sure, especially as security, you're very familiar with incident response. So make sure you develop your incident response plans according to any of this AI. Thank you.